Hi everyone, it's Bonnie from the Barnes Museum, and today we're going to use our imaginations and a few simple items that you can find in your house, and we are going to recreate a board game that children just like you played over 100 years ago. The game that we're going to recreate is this game right here. It's called Yachting Off Sandy Hook Light, and this was made in the 1890s, well over 100 years ago. And if you've ever played a game like, let's say, Candyland, the idea is very similar. You start off at a starting point, then you work your piece all the way through a path until you reach the end of the path. The person who reaches the end of the path first wins. Yachting off Sandy Hook is just like that. You would take your yacht right here and you would start it on the starting point over here. Then you would move your yacht along that line drawn on the board, following the arrows, and the first person to get back to Sandy Hook Light wins. Today, we're going to use our imaginations and recreate this game. So, what you'll need to recreate the game is a sheet of paper, and your paper can be any size. If you want to use a poster board, it can be a big, huge game. If you have a paper tablecloth that you want to draw on your table, go ahead and use one of those as well. But you'll need some sort of blank piece of paper. You will also need something to draw with, and you can use your imagination with this. For my game, I used colored pencils, but you can use crayons, you can use markers, you can use paint, finger paints, watercolors, whatever you want. You'll also need something to spin or roll. If you have another board game in your house that has a spinner similar to this one that has numbers around it, feel free to borrow that for this game. But if you don't have that, you might have a die, just like this, a little four-sided die that you can roll and it has a number on it. And then you'll also need player pieces. So what I chose today for player pieces, whoops, I dropped one. What I chose today is a dime. It was Easter this weekend, so I have a little Easter bunny, and I have a rock. I love rocks, a little tiny one just like this. Those are my player pieces. So go ahead and pause this video and go ask your grown-up if you can get these supplies and come right on back. Did you get your supplies? Great! So what I did first was I had to decide for a theme of my game. Sometimes, if you want, you can recreate the board game exactly. So if you like this idea of yachting off of Sandy Hook Light, draw an ocean on your sheet of paper and then draw a line for your imaginary ships to go around. For me, I wanted to do something that I love to do in real life, and I don't have a yacht in real life, but you know what I do have? I have a camper, and I love camping. So my game is camping themed. And what I did was I drew a campground, and I put it on a clipboard so it's easier to show you here, but you don't necessarily need a clipboard. Here is my board game. You see the starting point is there on the bottom, and I have a campground almost in a figure 8 drawn around the paper. And there are arrows on my board, and I follow the arrows around. And the point of my game, just like in Sandy Hook Light, is to get to my campsite first. And my campsite is the one with a little blue tent and the fire pit on it over there. So what you do first is you draw your imaginary game board. And the cool part is that you can shape it however you want as well. If you need a ruler to make straight lines, go grab yourself a ruler. If you want to make swirly lines, that's totally fine too. As long as you draw arrows on your pathway, just like I did here, you'll always know which direction is easiest to go. Now, the other thing I did on my game, and that they did on the Sandy Hook game, is I made a shortcut. And there's shortcuts in that Candyland game as well. You can always go up Rainbow Road, I think it is. But what you do is you roll your die, and you start off at the starting point, and you come over around this direction, and then you come over here. Now, if I roll an exact number that gets me to this dark triangle right here, that means if my piece stops there, that means that I can go straight down into my campsite, and that will save me all of these pieces. That's a pretty good shortcut. So let me show you. We're going to put this down right here, and we're going to move this down just like this, and I'm going to put my player pieces on my little bunny just like that, and my little rock just like that we'll use. And then I'm going to take my die and I'm going to roll it. I rolled a 2, so I'm going to hop my bunny 1, 2, and then the next person will go. Oh, they got a 6. Lucky ducks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, let's say my bunny next rolls a 3. If my bunny rolls a 1, 2, 3, my bunny can't sit on that same rock, so he would go to the very next spot right ahead. And they'd hop along the pieces and go all the way around. And let's start going over here really quickly. Let's say my bunny's right here. We're going to fast forward and say my bunny gets a 3 again. 1, 2, 3. See, he landed right on that dark triangle. That means that he can go all the way down on my shortcut. Now, if we were to look at the Sandy Hook light game, you'll see that their shortcut is right here out by the buoy. If you land on that triangle, instead of going all the way down here, and all the way back up to the start, you can take this little shortcut and it cuts some of your path off. So, use your imagination, create your own game boards, and have a lot of fun. It can be themed any way you want. That's the great part about making games. It's your game to create. You can even come up with different rules. Maybe you play with 2 dice and doubles goes, you get another turn if you do doubles. Whatever you do, have a great time, and we hope you have enjoyed recreating a board game that children just like you played over 100 years ago.